Let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Well, 2 out of 3, not too bad. Matt and I are going to be in studio here for the show. Producer John having tech problems, not of his doing. We'll just go ahead and let you know that. We'll kind of explain that here in a little bit. But he might join in on the chat side on CRN Live on YouTube, but unfortunately that might be about it on a very busy day. Weather-wise here in our home state, if you happen to be in the southeastern part of the country, please be highly weather aware as we get into our stuff here when it comes to racing. Broadcast partner concerns for IndyCar, NASCAR, and the NHRA. For the first time this year, but not the last, we're going to give you a Fantasy League update for our CRN listeners and viewers. Got more information on IndyCar's race next year in Arlington, Texas. Formula One looking at new markets again, and the IHRA continues to grow. And finally, an update on Auto Club Speedway. Get it all rolling on CRN next.
Stay right here for more.
Well, welcome in. Hope everything is going well with you. Again, we're kind of weather aware here in the southeastern part of the country just because, well, it could become an absolute mess. So, yeah, if you're anywhere right now, I mean, just I got to admit, looking at the radar that's being shown right now, round number 1, is bad enough.
It was bad enough for St. Louis and Arkansas last night, for sure.
And it's kind of rolling through the northern part of the state of Alabama right now and over into Georgia. And we got another line coming in from Arkansas and Louisiana into Mississippi. And that's going to be here later today, just what we need, right?
Yeah, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 warnings already out. And it's not even 8:15 in the morning.
Yep, going to be an interesting day. Let's
Showtime.
just say it that way, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what? It ain't doing that right now. So Matt and I are going to get into things here and see what we can get ourselves into. And we'll do, as we always do, a quick recap of last weekend. Contact really didn't mean anything to Eric Almirola. He was happy to go door-to-door with Cup Moonlighter Alex Bowman as the laps wound down at Phoenix last weekend. The two led the field at the start of overtime, not shy about swapping paint over the final 2 turns. And at the line, it was Almirola by a slim 4/100ths of a second, second closest finish in Phoenix's history. Almirola beats Bowman, then Brandon Jones, Ryan Sieg, Justin Allgaier, Taylor Gray, Sam Mayer, Christian Eckes, Jesse Love, and Nick Sanchez. You got 3 drivers now into the playoffs with wins. They are Jesse Love, Austin Hill, Connor Zillage. Those who are in on points, Justin Allgaier, Sam Mayer, Sammy Smith, Sheldon Creed, Taylor Gray, Jeb Burton, Christian Eckes, Ryan Sieg, William Sawalich. Harrison Burton's fallen outside of the playoffs. He's 2 points back of Sawalich.
Or be shocked.
We've said this before, especially when it comes to Josh Berry, and we'll say it again. Car or driver?
For the 21 car? That's been established in a hurry. It ain't the car.
So can we explain the situation that he's dealing with in his early troubles here in the Xfinity Series return?
I need about 3 more races to see that one.
Okay.
Because it's hard.
Jury's not quite in yet.
Yeah, the jury's not quite in with that one because I'm not sold on that car.
I got you. Okay, so that one may be more car than driver.
Possibly.
Maybe. Okay. Sunday's racing actually began down in Florida. The NHRA got their 2025 season underway with the Gator Nationals. Top fuel coming down to a battle between defending champion Antron Brown, who was taking on Sean Langdon. Brown with the edge off the light, paid off with the win at the other end. 3.673 ET, 333.99 miles per hour. In the process, that man claims his 81st top fuel event win of his career. He's a Hall of Famer for sure. Ron Capps made it to the finals. The funny car faced off against Chad Green. Capps had the quicker reaction time, but then hazed the tires. He had to back out of it. Green claims the win. Wow. 3.921 ET, 329.18 miles per hour. Greg Anderson, Dallas Green pairing off in the Pro Stock Car Finals. Glenn, stellar reaction time, long gone before Anderson even lost traction off of the start. Glenn's winning run, a 6.549 ET at 211.13 miles per hour. That's his 14th event win of his young career. And then Matt Smith versus Gage Herrera. Okay. Care to take a guess?
No.
Yeah. Pro Stock Motorcycle, to very little surprise, Herrera has the advantage of a quicker reaction time. The man has lightning quick responses. Paid off with a win at the other end, 6.722 ET, 200.23 miles per hour. That just marks Herrera's continued dominance. Points largely mirror everything else, the way that it finished. Tell you what, we'll wait until event number 2, then we'll start to run down points in the NHRA. And that sends us back out to Phoenix, where the Cup Series got into the West Coast swing fully. Came down to a teammate battle within Joe Gibbs Racing. Denny Hamlin trying to break the 2-race winning streak of Christopher Bell. Two made a little bit of contact as they raced side by side. In the end, the margin of victory, slim 0.049 of a second. Yeah, that's right, 49/100ths of a second. Bell claims his 3rd win in a row, besting Hamlin. Bell, Hamlin, 3rd place, Kyle Larson. Then Josh Berry. That goes back to that car versus driver thing. I think we've pretty much figured out it was the driver when it comes to the 21. Josh Berry has certainly upped the performance of that car. Chris Buescher in 5th. William Byron was 6th, followed by Alex Bowman. Kyle Busch, Zane Smith, nice run for him, and Chase Elliott filling out the top 10. Bell now 3 wins. William Byron 1. They are, for all intents and purposes, locked into the playoffs for now. Those in on points include Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, John Hunter Nemechek, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Michael McDowell, and Ross Chastain. Todd Gilliland now sitting just outside of the top 16 by a rather slim 5 points. You still get that early part of the year here where you get a good performance. That really moves you up. And if you have a bad performance, it really drops you down in points.
You tank.
Racing this weekend. Actually, it began last night. Craftsman Truck Series was at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There we go. EcoSafe 200. Matt, you got some details about this particular event?
Corey Heim pulled away with the win.
We're shocked.
That's about all I got. I don't know, because I didn't watch very much of it last night at all.
Corey Heim, by the way, the only winner this year running for points in the 3 races. 2 wins for him. Kyle Busch got obviously the one over in Atlanta.
See, it was Grant Enfinger second, Tanner Gray third, Ty Majeski fourth, Lane Riggs fifth, Stuart Friesen sixth, Rajah Caruth seventh, Chandler Smith eighth, Matt Crafton ninth, and Tyler Ankrum 10th. Only 31 trucks started.
Yeah. Well, and think about it. Tomorrow, Cup Series, only 36 starters.
Yeah.
It's only the chartered cars. There isn't one non-chartered car that even tried to make the trip out to Vegas.
And we're trying to save money.
Yeah, it's got to be it. As we mentioned, Corey Heim is the only one locked into the playoffs. Those leading on points include Ty Majeski. He is at the top. He's followed by Grant Enfinger, Chandler Smith, Stuart Friesen, Ben Rhodes, Tyler Ankrum, Gio Ruggiero. Then you got Daniel Hemrick and Tanner Gray. Gray's got a 3-point lead over Lane Riggs for that final playoff spot, 4-point lead over Jake Garcia. Today, let's see, we got 2 races actually today, depending on exactly what time zone you're in. Let's just put it that way. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is going to be the place. The time for the Xfinity Series to get in the Liuna. You might be wondering exactly how long this is. Well, I'm here to tell you that, too. The Liuna is a 200-lap, 300-mile long race.
Why don't they just call it the Liuna 300?
I don't know. It'll air on CW, depending on what city you're in. We'll get back to that. And PRN Radio beginning at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Formula One gets their 2025 season into action finally with the Louis Vuitton. Ooh, hoity-toity. Louis Vuitton Australian Grand Prix, the Albert Park Circuit in Melbourne, Australia. 3.1 miles long, 14 turns. It'll be shown live on ESPN starting at midnight Eastern, 11 p.m. Central Time. That's why I say today, tonight, depending on what time zone you're in. McLaren, by the way, begins the defense of their Constructors' Cup title in pretty fine form. They locked out the front row. Lando Norris on the pole, Oscar Piastri alongside. Surprise might be the Racing Bulls pair. They roll off 6th and 11th. And the major disappointment, Haas F1.
Shocker.
The pair starting shotgun on the field. Esteban Ocon's qualification time, not ridiculous, but still 1.2 seconds slower than the pole sitter. Ollie Behrman, on the other hand, didn't even turn a time, and it was because of what happened during practice.
Huh.
Nice little crash.
Crashed, yeah.
Yeah. Got to deal with the rookies. And then Sunday belongs to the Cup Series, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. They're going to run the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube. That'll be on Fox Sports 1, PRN Radio, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. That means IndyCar, the NHRA, and Formula One are each off this weekend. All right. We don't usually start with the Xfinity Series, but this seemed big enough that it seemed important enough to do so here. In the tease, I said NASCAR, IndyCar, and the NHRA in some way, shape, or form are having trouble with their television partners. Well, the funny thing is that they all have the same television. Well, 2 of the 3 have the same television partner in common. Because the Xfinity Series, you might remember, is on the CW network solely all year long. And the smaller network, I mean, you think about the over-the-air networks, it's easily the smallest of them all. And it's signed on as the sole TV provider of Xfinity Series coverage this year, but the growing pains have kind of been particularly harsh. You got some viewers claiming that, number one, they can't find CW in the area, despite network officials claiming that they cover 100% of the U.S. Again, this is probably a lack of overall knowledge about the CW network, just to be real honest.
Probably.
But what might be worse is this. Some network affiliates are choosing not to carry the Xfinity Series races, which has prompted a statement from the CW that they were going to talk with those affiliates about that. But even amongst those that do, And I'm looking at our next door neighbors over there in Georgia, in one of the biggest television markets in the country, Atlanta, specifically when it comes to this particular situation. Fans of the series who are watching Peachtree TV in Atlanta, this is kind of a subsidiary, I guess you could call it, of them. Mm-hmm. They were getting into the overtime finish, the battle that we noted between Eric Almirola and Moonlighter Alex Bowman. But here's what happened. When the leaders took the white flag, means you still got one lap to go, right? The TV station abruptly cut to a station promo for an upcoming spring training baseball game coverage between the hometown Braves and the Boston Red Sox. And after the promo aired, the station moved on to their regular programming. They didn't return to even show post-race coverage. They just gone. Left the viewer scrambling to find out who won and what happened, and being mad at the TV station. A whole lot of complaints were turned in not only to the local TV station, but to the CW network. They said that they have talked to the station in Atlanta, and they insist it was a mistake and it will not happen again. CW's statement read as such, quote, "We appreciate that our affiliates are still learning the power of our new programming and the implications that has for serving our collective viewers. Our local affiliate in Atlanta has acknowledged the mistake in prematurely ending coverage of yesterday's NASCAR Xfinity Series race, and we've been assured this will not happen again. We will continue to work closely with our affiliates to ensure that the entire NASCAR Xfinity Series continues to receive the premium treatment that racing fans deserve." On that note, I found out that today's race, the Leuna, or the Leuna 300 or 200 lapper or whatever you want to call it, will not air on the CW affiliate in Atlanta again. Instead, it's going to the Peachtree Network. I have some insight to this because
you got some pretty close insight to it.
Yeah, because I've run some live stuff. Granted, I left the Birmingham CW affiliate as a master control operator before they got NASCAR. But I have made the mistake on a rare occasion of leaving what we call a hard time still in the system. And when you make a mistake like that, when it comes to live programming, you get to, in this case, 7 o'clock. And of course, the computer's just going to do what it's ordered to do. And it sees an order that says at 7 o'clock, in this case, hard fire off this promo that shows, hey, we've got a game coming up between the Atlanta Braves and the Boston Red Sox. That's going to air.
Right.
It is then up to the master control operator, me, to then put the proper order back in to where after that promo runs, it goes back to live coverage of the CW network in this case, and you would be able to finish off. Now, yes, in all likelihood, you probably missed it because the promo was at least 30 seconds. Didn't take 30 seconds to get around Phoenix. So the final lap's done. But at least you could get the post-race coverage.
Right.
That's a mistake on the master control operator's part. But in this case, apparently, there was an order from up on high that said, don't worry about it, go to the next thing at X time. And that is a problem not on the master control operator's part, but on the higher ups within the station who did not say, as you should, stick with this live programming until it ends. If we have to join in progress, JIP, if we have to join in progress the next thing, whatever it is, network programming, the next sporting event, whatever it is, we have things that you can do that with. There are ways to do that. So this is a problem within that station. But from what I'm understanding, with them going from the promo into the next program, that was an order from higher up that said, just get out of the race.
That ain't good.
No, it's not good at all. Excuse me. And this is something that does need to be dealt with, because if CW is legitimately trying to make themselves a legitimate network, and they're following the Fox blueprint, okay?
Right.
Fox, when they came on board, the only thing they really had to hang their hat on was The Simpsons and Married with Children until they got the NFL rights. And that kind of launched them into everybody going, okay, yeah, they're legitimate. CW is kind of going that way. They're going out and doing it with sports. They went out and got rights to the ACC network. They went out and got rights to Live Golf. They went out and got rights to the Xfinity series. They're going out there and trying to build their reputation on sports. The problem is that these local stations, Birmingham station's one of them, have pre-existing contracts that they might have with other sporting either leagues or teams. Like the Birmingham CW affiliate has a contract. Actually, it's their sister station. But there is a contract that they have with the AA affiliate, the Birmingham Barons. They have a contract that also has them showing the USL team, the soccer league team, the Birmingham Legion. And if both of them happen to be playing at the same time, one will end up on 21, the other will end up on channel 68. Yeah, I worked there. Can you tell? So, yeah, there are some pre-existing contracts that do exist. And network affiliates do have the ability to preempt network programming if they alert the network well enough ahead of time.
Right.
This is one of those situations where they didn't alert the network well enough ahead of time because from what the CW is talking about, they're having to go play damage control, and they didn't know about it. So here's the growing pains, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're dealing with on that side. Well, from the CW growing pains over to Fox. I knew this situation with them getting Indycar along with the Cup Series and having the NHRA rights was going to be a problem. And one funny car driver in particular is calling them out on it. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Hey, we're just underway. Matt Nicholson, Steve West, right here on CRN. Welcome in.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Racing Network.
Welcome back in. We had on CRN Live, Keith talking about Chi-Town Mark. We mentioned on the air last week that we had gotten an update from his wife saying that he was in the hospital. Unfortunately, we haven't had an update since, or I haven't seen one. I don't know what you have.
I haven't either.
So, our thoughts and our prayers continue to go out to Chi-Town Mark and the entire family and all of his friends, and we do include ourselves among that. Hopefully everything is going well, or at least getting better.
Yep.
All right, so CW Network having its problems, and now Fox Sports apparently having problems with their promotion of the NHRA versus Indycar, and that grabbed the attention of NHRA funny car driver Bob Tasca III, and he ain't holding back. He is out and out ready to criticize and leveled both barrels and fired them both on the air on Fox Sports 1 after his elimination run at the Gator Nationals last week. In talking to the network's Amanda Busick, he said this, quote, "I should be talking about that run right now, but really, for me, I got to call out Fox and Fox Sports. You know, all winter long, we heard about the fastest motorsport on the planet, and I was a little confused because I didn't see that PPG Mustang, his own car, when I saw that ad. I didn't see that Proc car over there. And the truth is, it's an insult to our fans and to the drivers for Fox to go on TV and say that the fastest motorsport in the world, it's IndyCar? Come on now, I didn't think that there was fake news network on Fox." Ouch. Fox indeed did use that in their promo because IndyCar has been calling themselves the fastest motorsport in the world for many years now. They base it on their, quote, higher sustained speeds, this is IndyCar's words, not mine, than any other series on Earth. Now, it is true. They note this, however. They note that while Top Fuel and Funny Car, for example, reach well over 300 miles per hour in their runs when they hit the trap, those runs are short, and if you were to take the speed and average it out from the start line to the finish line, it actually only matches up to a little over 100 miles per hour for an entire run on average. Wow, we're really picking nits here, aren't we? Fox at this time has not commented on Tasca's post-race comments, but he's not scared. In fact, he backed himself on social media after that. I think it was the day after when he was asked about it, and he just said, "I said what I said." Oh, Fox, you backed yourself into a corner here.
You did.
Okay. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't have much of a problem with Fox's coverage of the NHRA. I think they stepped it up massively. I think they are doing a great job in covering the NHRA. I have zero problem personally with their coverage of the Cup Series. I like Mike Joy. I see a lot of people calling him out and making mistakes. Do yourself a favor. You do it for as long as Mike Joy has. See if you don't make mistakes. I guarantee you will.
Yep. They happen.
And while I haven't had the chance to watch it because they've only run one race and I wasn't able to see it live, I can't give you a good critique personally of how they do IndyCar, but you watched it. You said you thought they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's the IndyCar broadcasts overall are really good. I'm surprised.
But now they've got themselves in a position where they're having to juggle, certainly for the first 14 races of the Cup Series until they turn it over to Amazon Prime, they're having to juggle IndyCar, NHRA, and Cup. And that's not an easy thing to juggle because in a lot of cases, you're dealing with them having overlapping times. It may not start at the exact same time, but they're certainly going to end at time. You know, one is going to end at a time when another one's running, or start at a time when another one's running.
It's going to be close.
And you've got a weird little juggling act going on here. And as much as we can ding Fox Sports as a whole for kind of putting NASCAR on the back burner in favor of IndyCar, because remember, all the IndyCar races are going to be on the Fox network. Whereas of their 14 Cup Series races, only 4, and 3 of them have already run, air on the Fox network. The last one that they're going to do is when we go to Talladega. All the other ones are on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah.
Well, guess where the NHRA resides? Generally. I think 1, maybe 2 events will end up on the Fox network, but overall, Fox Sports 1 has covered the NHRA. Well, now you got NASCAR over there, And as they put NASCAR on the back burner and compared to IndyCar, they've practically taken the NHRA off the stove. Because now almost every single race until we get to Memorial Day weekend has to be on delay.
Yep.
And what was the biggest problem for the NHRA when they said we're leaving ESPN and going to Fox Sports?
Tape delays.
Bingo. You got a problem, Fox. You better figure it out. And you better figure it out quick.
Yep.
This is a bit of a surprise, especially considering we were already into the 2025 season, but big changes to the front office of John Force Racing. President Robert Hight has stepped down effective immediately and is leaving the company. Hight said, quote, I had 30 great years at JFR, but being out of the car last year made me realize there are other things I want to do, especially with my wife, Leslie, and my family. John Force opened so many doors for me, and I'm just glad I was there to help him and the company through everything that happened just last year. Hight's been a lifer at John Force Racing. He began there as a crew member on John Force's winning funny car entry, title-winning funny car entry of 1995. He moved into the role of designated test driver in 2004, got promoted to a full-time driver in 2005, claimed his first event win only 4 races into his driving career, and was made president of John Force Racing in 2011. In his time behind the wheel, he's won 65 national events, 3 funny car division titles, 2009, 2017, and 2019, and finished a runner-up to Matt Hagan in 2023. But you might remember that a medical issue took him out of the car last year. Taking over the car, Austin Prock. Prock only turned around and claimed the division title. Force said of Hight, quote, family is everything, so as much as I'll miss Robert, I understand that he has some other things he wants to do. He was a big part of the success of John Force Racing for more than 25 years. I love him, and I wish him well in whatever he decides to do. Down the line, we'll name a new president, but right now, we've got a great team in place. He did state this, quote, Bob McAleer will be my go-to guy, unquote, at their Brownsville, Indiana location. He did not state whether or not that means he's got the inside track on becoming the new president, though.
He probably does.
Probably. And here's the thing that we need to make sure that you understand. Brownsville, Indiana location is not the headquarters. They're based out of California.
Yorba Linda.
Yep. That's John Force Racing, born and bred, so on and so forth. That is where they are based out of. But yes, they do have a location in Brownsville, Indiana, because, well, if you're in IndyCar or the NHRA, by and large, that seems to be where the hub is. It's kind of like saying if you're in NASCAR, any of the top 3 levels, by and large, the hub is Charlotte. I mean, yeah, Thor Sports in Sandusky, Ohio, and who is it that's set to move to Nashville?
Brackley War? Yeah. No, they moved to Statesville.
Yeah. Somebody was said that they were going to be moving to Nashville. I can't remember who it was.
Trackhouse?
Might have been. But overall, the vast majority of them are based in and around the Charlotte area. So he's got a location in and around the hub of most of the NHRA stuff, but no, that's not the main headquarters. So we'll see. Nope. And since we're talking drag racing, let's talk the IHRA. They've been really getting into the news here lately, and their continued growth spurt got assisted by an announcement of the association's purchase of 7 tracks this week. IHRA owner Daryl Cuttle said this, quote, I am proud to announce that the International Hot Rod Association is purchasing 7 legendary racing facilities as of today. This was middle of the week. This is just the beginning of growing the IHRA into a global leader in sports and entertainment. It's going to be interesting. They got an uphill battle because if you think drag racing, I'm sorry, you think the NHRA first.
Right.
And I know that they're trying to change that, but it's going to be an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. Here are the tracks that they bought, some of them anyway. Darlington Dragway in South Carolina. I may get this wrong. You may know this better than me. Is it Galot or Galot?
Looks like, I think it's Galot.
Okay. It's Galot. It's in North Carolina. It's a motorsports park up there. And then they noted that 3 other of the tracks that they're buying are in the state of Ohio, got 1 in Michigan, and got 1 in Maryland, too. Cuttle added this, quote, the IHRA has also agreed in principle to purchasing, hosting, and partnering with some of the most successful and most popular racing series in the entire world. All these events will combine music, entertainment, and all-American family fun. Okay. They're basically going out and trying to make events out of this. And again, we talked about how they've got themselves a new president. It is a man who has was well entrenched within the NHRA, and they're really going out there. My question is this. We hadn't heard from the IHRA in what? 3 decades?
At least.
Where are they getting this money?
You tell me. Wherever they're getting it, it's a lot.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're utilizing it, and I think they're doing it right, as long as they're not overextending themselves. In other words, don't be doing this on credit and then hoping you're going to make it up on the back end. I hope that you were able to do this without having to finance the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, who's the backer on this? That's what I'd like to know. And Cuddle broke some other news as well. He said not only are they purchasing the tracks and planning on big events and making them spectacles, quote, the International Hot Rod Association will also launch IHRA TV, which will not only bring more live drag racing content to the fans, but also feature a diverse lineup of the racing series on snow, water, dirt, anywhere you find horsepower and competition. So in other words, it's not just going to be IHRA stuff. They're going to be showing all kinds of motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
He summarized the week's news by saying, quote, we look forward to revolutionizing racing and continued growth of a legendary company as we head into the future. We are committed to making drag racing fun again. Okay. Again, I think it's great. Knock yourselves out. Go for it, as long as you're not overextending yourselves.
Right.
Because, again, you were persona non grata for decades.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you and I, both of us, pretty big motorsports fans. We tend to keep up on this stuff. The IHRA had not seemed to raise its head above water, and I can't remember how long.
It's been a while.
You know, and now they're going out there and they're making really big splashes, and I think it's great. As long as they have the backing and they're doing it on solid ground. That's the important part.
Yep.
That's the important
No
part.
doubt. No doubt.
And then we'll start to work our way into NASCAR by NASCAR itself continuing to pay lip service to the thought that they would like to have a race in Southern California. It's the second largest TV market in the country. As we've noted, they have had that in the past with races at Auto Club Speedway, but then they turned around and sold off more than half that property that they own surrounding the track. And that began a project of trying to reinvent the track, going from its basically sister track of Michigan, the 2-mile D-shaped super speedway, into a short track that they say will take from the likes of Martinsville and Richmond. If you're on CRN Live on YouTube, I think you got that picture up, Matt?
Yes.
Yeah. This is an artist's rendition of kind of what it might look like. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But we really haven't heard much. NASCAR keeps going, yeah, we want to get back to Southern California, blah, 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 blah. Well, what's the latest? It turns out NASCAR's West Region president, his name is Dave Allen, got to talking this week to the LA Times newspaper and said this, quote, the market is extremely important to NASCAR. Where have we heard that before? So we're not abandoning the market. What we don't have is a firm timeline yet. To which Matt and I go, duh. He continues, there's some things within the sport that need to get sorted out before we can make some strategic decisions as it relates to what we're going to build. We're going to do something. I just don't know what and when yet. Allen noted that enough land is still in NASCAR's hands to complete a rework into a half-mile oval track. Said, quote, that's option number 1, but we need some time to sort things out and figure out if that's the right thing to do. Then he seemed somewhat resigned, again, in talking to the LA Times newspaper when he added this, quote, we're kind of just in a holding pattern.
You've been in a holding pattern for 2 years. 2
Yeah,
years.
because the last race there was what, 2023?
2023.
Because that was, you and I were kind of wondering if anybody had looked at a map, because if I remember right, that was year 1 of when they did the Busch Light Clash out at the LA Coliseum. Mausoleum, Coliseum, whatever you want to call it.
22 was.
Okay. So they were running to begin the season out to LA, down to Daytona, out to Phoenix, LA, and Las Vegas, not necessarily in that order.
Yep.
That's a lot of miles.
Yep.
Then they turn around, like we said, they sell off at least half the property. They state that they do have in the contracts of the sales the ability to lease back for race weekends those areas that they sold off for parking.
How can you How can you get the lease back for parking when there's warehouses on it?
That's what I'm saying. Apparently, they're saying that the warehouses are going to be empty on the weekends, so therefore they get to park people and whatever there. I'm still trying to figure out the mentality of this whole deal for NASCAR to even think about selling off that property. I get it. It's prime real estate property out there, and I'm sure that it brought them a pretty penny. But you sold it off for warehouses. It's not like you sold it off like they did Riverside for, commercial and residential stuff. This is just a mind-boggling situation out there. You insist, NASCAR, that you want to be in Southern California, but yet you have done everything you can possibly do to tear up anything that's in Southern California.
Yeah, because Irwindale's gone.
Yeah, Irwindale's gone. Riverside's gone. We're not going back to the LA Coliseum, which we're thankful of. And Auto Club Speedway, which is what you had.
It's all but gone.
I mean...
all but gone.
Yeah. The backstretch, as we knew it on the 2-mile oval, is gone. Really, all we got is the D-shaped front stretch and the pit area.
The last photo I've seen of it is, the only thing that's left is from the exit and the entry and exit of pit road and that chute down the front stretch, and that's it. That's it.
But yeah, you insist you need to be or want to be in Southern California. Good luck. All right. Let's see if we can't find some better news to talk about here. Hey, Christopher Bell's on a heater, in case you hadn't noticed. Could he make history? And if he did, what kind of history are we actually talking about here? I mean, he's got 3 in a row, and that's some pretty elite company. 4 in a row? That's rarefied air. How rarefied? We'll detail it when we come back.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Start your engine! Trouble on the front stretch. Christopher Bell's car has gone up in smoke. Chris Buescher in the wall over in turns 1 and 2.
Lost nut, lost half the wheel. Anyway, I think tires stayed up under the fender.
Tyler Reddick has run out of race car and run out of time. He will make one last effort to try to get by Kyle Larson.
NASCAR on 95.1 The Mountain.
winning 3 races in a row, especially nowadays, it's not easy. I mean, if we can say one thing that's a definite positive about this Gen 7 car, it has leveled the playing field. You really don't know generally from one week to the next who's going to be in victory lane.
You know who's not going to be in victory lane.
Well, that's true. But then again, we've always been able to say that.
True.
So winning 3 races in a row ain't easy. But it is the heater that Christopher Bell is on heading into this weekend at Las Vegas. 4 in a row? Much more difficult. Much more difficult. I mean, we haven't seen 3 in a row since Kyle Larson did it in 2021. But we've seen it much more often, obviously, than winning 4 in a row. In fact, we haven't seen a driver in the Cup Series level win 4 in a row in almost 20 years. If we use the modern era as our benchmark. Now, remember, before 1972, there was a whole lot of races being run, sometimes 2 and 3 races sanctioned by NASCAR on a weekend. So it was a little bit easier to win 4 in a row. You weren't necessarily guaranteed to get the best of the best every time you went out there. But in 1972, things kind of got settled in, and we didn't get more than 1 NASCAR race sanctioned on a weekend, right? So using that as a starting point, only a handful or a couple of handfuls of drivers have ever claimed 4 in a row. The first driver to do it actually was Hall of Famer Cale Yarborough. He did it in 1976, so it took 4 years. Took another 5 to do it again when Darrell Waltrip pulled that trick. By the way, Hall of Famer, in case you hadn't remembered, that would happen in 1981. Then it took 6 more years for Hall of Famer Dale Earnhardt to do it himself. After that, Harry Gant pulled it off in 1991, not, surprisingly, a Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer Bill Elliott turned the trick in 1992, and Mark Martin did it the very next year. So after having a situation where you had to go 4 years to get the first one, 5 years to get the second, and 6 to get the third, you got the 4th in 4 years. And for the next 3 years in a row, you got 1 to do it. Then Hall of Famer Jeff Gordon pulls it off in 1998. And the last time it happened was Hall of Famer Jimmy Johnson doing it in 2007. So in other words, we've gone through a couple of generations of cars since we have seen the last driver to pull off 4 in a row. Now, a lot of people ask this question this way: can Christopher Bell do it? He's capable of doing it. There's no doubt about it. Joe Gibbs racing in that 20 car? Yeah. But will he do it? That's another question.
Good question.
And that, when we talk about fantasy, I got to admit, he's somebody that you got to really, really look very, very hard at this weekend. Just because they are on that roll. And there is such a thing as momentum in racing, too. So we'll give a fantasy update a little bit later on in the show. It's going to be an interesting bit of a conversation, though. There's no doubt about it. Hey, remember Casey Mears? When was the last time we heard that name? Well, I can tell you exactly the last time we heard that name in the Cup Series competition, 2019. That was the last time he got into a ride. It was for the Daytona 500. But he's working with Garage 66. Remember them, the guys that tried to put Mike Wallace in the car and then NASCAR said no? But they're allowing Casey Mears to get in the car, who hasn't been in a car since 2019 in the Daytona 500. No disrespect to Casey Mears. He's going to get the start later this month at Martinsville in the number 66 with sponsorship from Hitchco, which is a mobile RV repair company.
People.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. Somebody immediately fired back and blasted one off social media. They shared the article. Hi, so Mike Wallace's most recent NASCAR start came in 2020, Casey Mears in 19. In my opinion, stadium trucks don't really transfer over to stock cars, so NASCAR won't step in here. So won't NASCAR step in here to show Casey a return plan? Casey decided to fire back.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yes, he did. So the standard is to run 1.5 miles and under first.
And let's face it, Martinsville's half-mile paperclip. We know that.
I wasn't approved for Daytona or Talladega either. Time out. Time out.
Were you considered for either one of them?
After running Martinsville, I should be approved to run super speedways again. Bummer for Mike, but we're in the same boat. All right. Since we now know Mark is okay, we're going to have a short little class session here. When you have competitors, I do not care. If you have a competitor that has sat behind the wheel of a stock car, period, and has competed at every single facility or that style of facility that there is, why do we have to go through a reapproval process? But, we can let Catherine Legg, Elio Castroneves jump in a car.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Honestly, I don't know.
That competition department, Charlotte and Daytona. I'm pointing Daytona, Charlotte.
Sure, both of them.
Needs a total, complete overhaul and a clean out.
Yeah.
Because this is absurd.
I mean, what's the biggest bugaboo when it comes to us criticizing NASCAR? Lack of consistency. This is just the latest in that lack of consistency when it comes to NASCAR. And again, I'm not. Don't get us wrong. We're not bashing on Casey Mears here. Okay? Congratulations, Casey. For that matter, if Joe Blow off of the street can get a ride, we're happy for him. Or her, Jane Blow. We're happy. Okay? Love it. Knock yourself out. If you can get it, great. But the way that we're going about the approval process, which is in NASCAR's hands, just blows our mind because it does not match up from one person to the next.
But we can let Travis Pastrana get in one of these cars at a super speedway last year.
Yeah.
This makes zero sense.
Yep.
None.
Let's see. Mears has just shy of 500 Cup Series starts to his credit. He was full-time in the Cup Series from 2003 to 2016. He got has one career win. Happened in 2007 in the Coca-Cola 600. He won that race driving for Hendrick Motorsports. He's hoping to change the fortune of the Garage 66 team. Again, part-time organization owned by Carl Long. Tried to make the Daytona 500, missed it with driver Chandler Smith after initially planning to try to put Mike Wallace in the car, but NASCAR didn't approve him. Again, we ask the question, what's the difference? Is it just the fact that he's going onto a half-mile track as opposed to 2.5-mile track?
But
that's not good enough.
But as he said in his social media reply, he competes in Martinsville. He's approved to do super speedways again. Last I checked,
okay,
there is twice, a little over double the speed difference from Martinsville to Talladega.
Oh, yeah.
What's the difference what is the clear black and white difference? If you run Martinsville, you're approved to run a super speedway.
That you can run in traffic? I'm reaching for something. I'm trying. I don't know.
If they wanted to get back to Daytona or Talladega immediately and run one of those races, which that gives this specific car. Listen to the subliminal message and I'm putting in here. This specific car gives them the most legitimate chance. Because before he decided to try to play hero and he nosed it in the turn 2 wall, Chandler Smith had a legitimate run going.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
In the duels.
Yeah, he did.
So why can't said competitors just enter into the ARCA race of said weekend, knock the rust off? Hey, we're back.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to that?
Yeah. We've seen it before.
It's happened ever since the beginning of time almost.
Yep.
But, We can let these 18-year-olds, just because Daddy or Uncle Joe or Grandpa Bob has got $2.5 million he needs to blow and get out of the way. Oh, here, son, take it and go do what you want to do with it. Oh, Daddy, I want that car. Uncle Joe, I want that car. Grandpa Bob, I want that car. Go get it, big boy. And look like a picture the Harry Hog line here. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
On the racetrack.
Or Big John's comments out of Days of Thunder, more specifically.
Yeah. Japanese inspection. That's what we need to put these kids through. Japanese inspection.
There you go. Or, not just those 18, 19-year-olds, but those who get, for example, the OEP, which, by the way, that open exemption provisional rule that we first heard about leading up to the Daytona 500 that got Elio Castroneves into that race is already being amended. After having seen it in action for the Daytona 500 and after talking with the drivers and some of the owners about it, NASCAR made a small verbal change to the open exemption provisional rule. Several, including 7-time Cup champion Jimmy Johnson, said that they don't mind having an OEP, which apparently came about in last year's new charter agreement. But they said they didn't want a driver using an OEP to take the place of someone else making the field.
And that makes perfect sense.
That was a possibility leading into qualifying for the Daytona 500.
Technically, it did happen.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So, if he had, for example, qualified in one of the front two positions, that would have been a 40-car starting field, and one of the other regular Cup drivers, even though in a non-chartered car, would have gone home.
Which very likely could have been Jimmy Johnson or Martin Truex.
Very easily, which is why someone like Jimmy Johnson says, hey, listen. So here's the update to the rule. It was written in on Wednesday of this week. It states that in any race where 40 or more drivers are on the entry list and an OEP is being used, the field will automatically expand to 41 starters.
That's basically what it was doing at Daytona.
It reads this, quote, the open exemption provisional will be applied only if more than 40 vehicles are qualifying for an event. In that case, it will be applied regardless of the vehicle's qualified position, and the starting field will be 41. They're guaranteeing, in other words, it will be 41 as opposed to the possibility, depending on where the OEP car started, it might only be 40.
Why did they basically have to just reassert themselves of something that was already established?
Because we have to make sure that we put everything in black and white now. That's why. I mean, in this case, I understand NASCAR's reasoning for putting it in the rule book. They have to make sure that they are trying to cover all scenarios. We'll see whether or not they actually do it or not.
I wish, I really legitimately wish that if I could, I'm going to borrow a line from the classic song from Cher here, if I could turn back time.
Okay.
If I could find a way, if I could have a conversation with the souls of Bill France Sr. and Bill France Jr., wondering what's going through their mind right now.
Whew. Yeah.
I would love to know what's going through their mind right now.
I'm going to take a wild stab at it and come up with the phrase of, what the hell are you guys doing to my sport?
Yeah. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. I think that probably is pretty much the thought process for the Francis.
Yeah.
Whew. Hour one in the books. Fiery one at that. Hour number 2 coming up here. I got to admit, I kind of like what Amazon Prime is working up here. Amazon Prime filling out their 5-race slate with their announcing lineup. We'll tell you about it when we come back.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
weather aware is a big conversation if you happen to be from, say, the Mississippi River over to a line of, say, the Alabama-Georgia line all the way up north into the Great Lakes area. But specifically for Mississippi and our backyard here in Alabama, we are like 5 on a scale of 1 to 5 when it comes to severe weather for today. So, yeah, if you happen to be around here in this area listening or watching, please be very weather aware for this afternoon and into this evening, because it's going to start up early to mid-afternoon and it's going to go well into the nighttime from what we understand. So just, again, make sure that you have the ability to get that information, okay?
Yep.
Amazon Prime continuing to fill out details of their upcoming 5 races of Cup Series coverage. Booth announcers are Adam Alexander, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Steve Letarte. This was previously announced. I'm just kind of reiterating it for you in case you had forgotten or missed that announcement. Also previously announced, pit road reporters, borrowing them or getting them from NBC, Kim Kuhn and Marty Snyder. Now, they will be back when it comes to going to NBC, but they're also going to be on Amazon Prime. Pre- and post-race studio show going to be hosted by longtime Fox Sports reporter Danielle Trotta. She is back on television. She'll be joined by Corey LaJoie, who's on a part-time schedule in the Cup Series, basically getting a ride wherever he can.
Stacking them pennies, son.
Bingo. Well, 2 more names have been added to the list. On pit road, 2011 Daytona 500 champion Trevor Bayne has been added to help out Kuhn and Snyder. Has he done pit road before?
Nope.
This ought to be interesting. In addition to that, joining LaJoie and Trotta in pre- and post-race show is going to be NASCAR Hall of Famer Carl Edwards. That's a pretty good call right there. I like what Carl Edwards can bring to that. The only reason I don't necessarily question Trevor Bayne coming on board. I question Trevor Bayne coming on board as a pit reporter if you've had no experience doing it before. It's not the easiest job in the world. When I was asked to do that in 2005 for the local radio station, I was, for a little while there, kind of fish out of water. I got to give a lot of credit to Wendy Venturini, who was more than happy to talk to me and kind of gave me some tips. She understood. I'm feeling a little bit over my head. Here's what you need to do is settle down and get into this. So what I'm hoping that Trevor Bayne is doing is he's talking a lot to Kim Kuhn and Marty Snyder and saying, here's what you need to be prepared for. We're going to set you up in this particular section of pit road. Here's what you need to be ready for. That's all I'm asking. Of course, Amazon Prime is doing a 5-race slate. Starts with the Coca-Cola 600. They'll cover Nashville, Michigan, Mexico City, and they'll wrap up with the race at Pocono. Prime Video also the home of all Cup Series practice sessions, such as they are, and qualifying sessions, save for the Fox final Cup broadcast. That'll be the All-Star race. That stuff will show up on Fox Sports 1. And then there's Prime Video. This ought to be interesting, actually. Doing not live. They're going to do, as part of their preparations for getting into Cup Series coverage and in earnest, got a new documentary out on the late Dale Earnhardt. And it is entitled simply Earnhardt. It is a 4-part series that looks back on the legend's life, features interviews from his own children, shows plenty of footage of the legend, the Intimidator, during his career, both in and out of the race car. It'll drop on Amazon Prime on Memorial Day weekend, coinciding with the streaming service's first Cup Series race, the aforementioned Coca-Cola 600. It's produced by Imagine Documentaries, which tells me Ron Howard had something to do with it, in conjunction with NASCAR Studios and Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s own Dirty Mo Media. This could be pretty interesting. It'd be interesting to see what, if anything, new. I mean, we've seen a lot of stuff out there on him in the amazingly 24 years since his death. I wonder what they found that's new and different that separates this out.
Yeah.
And yes, I will watch it, because I am that curious about it. I mean, for example, speaking of something that just dropped, granted not yesterday, but a week ago, and I didn't get the chance to talk about it last week, Netflix's latest season of F1 Drive to Survive.
Right.
This, to me, was a much better season than last year. This is season 7. It was better than season 6. Part of the reason why was because there was no drama from season 6. Remember, that was the year where Max Verstappen practically won everything on the planet and walked away with the championship with, how many races was it? 5, 6?
Something like that, yeah.
There was no drama. We knew it was Red Bull all the way. We knew it was Max Verstappen all the way. So that brought about that criticism of Netflix and F1 Drive to Survive, and the fact that they were trying to manufacture drama. And you don't have to necessarily, because there are rivalries that are back in the background there, and there are other storylines, Gunther Steiner and Haas F1 being one of them. That whole situation was kind of weird. But it took a different turn, obviously, for the 2024 season, because, yes, Max Verstappen still won the championship, but it wasn't really locked down until 2 races left to go. And, oh, by the way, Red Bull not as dominant as they had been, as witnessed by the fact that they not only didn't win the Constructors' Cup title, they didn't finish second either.
Yep.
So in this case, the drama didn't have to be quote-unquote manufactured. It was there. And then all the other storylines that were coming about when it came to changeovers, you know, Gunther Steiner's firing from Haas F1, could they get up off the mat, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff really just kind of lent itself to natural drama and natural storylines where you didn't feel like anything was manufactured or forced.
Right.
It's a much better season this year, and I ripped through it in an afternoon. I started it when I got home Friday middle part of the day, and I went through those 10 episodes before I went to bed Friday night. I enjoyed it. Just saying. And that does turn us over to Formula One news. And as we noted on the show last week on the big show, Cadillac did get final approval to join the F1 starting grid in 2026. And now we get into all the detail work, and that includes who's going to drive for them. Team principal Graham Loudon, after saying last week that the drivers were going to be chosen on merit, admitted this week that there is a short list of drivers that the new team is going to try to select from. If you want somebody to pair with an inexperienced American-born driver, the name Colton Herta, by the way, keeps popping up there. He could go with any number of drivers that do have prior F1 experience that probably are available next year if he wants to go that route. Names that include the likes of Valtteri Bottas, who is a reserve driver for Mercedes this year, Zhou Guan Yu, Sergio Perez, that's a pretty big name out there, and then there's Mick Schumacher. They are all pretty much currently free agents, or again in reserve roles to where you probably could pull them to a full-time gig if they were willing to go to a startup operation. Of course, there's the possibility the current drivers who are running in the final year of their deal. That's a fairly short list, but kind of a surprising one, too, because drivers whose contracts are up, at least at last report, at the end of the 2025 season, Red Bull rookie Liam Lawson is actually on a 1-year deal. Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli and veteran George Russell are both out, technically, at the end of this year. I would expect Mercedes to be working on extensions. Alpine's 2025 rookie Jack Doohan, and both of your Racing Bull driver contracts for Isaac Hadjar and Yuki Tsunoda are up at the end of the year. It's a pretty interesting list of names there. As for Herta, there is one major hurdle he needs to overcome if he is to be one of Cadillac's 2025 F1 drivers. That is holding on to his F1 super license. It's something he actually earned last September with his final points finish in the 2024 IndyCar season. That, by the way, isn't overly impressive to Herta. He said after learning that he got the F1 license, quote, "It's nice to have one, I guess. I think it's disrespectful for IndyCar how underrepresented it is. But these are all things that we know and we've talked about. You and I have talked about that as well. I mean, even to win the title for IndyCar, it takes 40 points of lower series for you to get an F1 super license.
Right.
To win an IndyCar title doesn't guarantee you that. You just win an F2 title, you got 40 points right off the bat.
Right.
But in IndyCar, it's 30. What? You can't sit there and tell me that F2 drivers are a step above IndyCar. I'm not buying that. I'm sorry, I'm just not.
If actually,
have they changed it?
It has changed.
Okay. What's the new set?
The new set, Formula 2 and IndyCar I'm going just by straight first place here. Formula 2 and IndyCar are 40.
Well, it's about time.
Formula 3, Formula E, and World Endurance Championship are 30.
I don't know if I 100% agree with that totally. I get Formula 3 and I get Formula E because they're very similar. World Endurance Challenge, I'm not sure is all that many similarities to what Formula 1's doing.
Hypercar.
Oh, is that the one they're specifically calling?
This is the Hypercar. The Hypercar division gets 30.
Okay.
The World Endurance Championship LMP2 gets 20. Super Formula and Formula Regional European gets 25.
Yeah, so we're starting to drop down to the Craftsman Truck Series, Arkham and Art Series territory.
Super GT 500 and IMSA GTP gets 20. The Formula Regionals, Middle East, Asian, Americas, Japanese, and Oceania gets 18.
Okay.
The Deutsch Tourenwagen Masters, World Touring Car Cup,
German DTM Series, yeah.
Supercars Championship, NXT,
Indy Next, okay.
W Series is non-existent anymore.
Yeah.
Euro Formula, Super Formula, and Cup all get 15. They've got Cup on the same level as NXT for points.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that's actually a raise because the last time I remember seeing the points to win a Cup Series championship only gave you 10 points on an F1 Super license. So they actually did increase that a little
Xfinity now gets 10.
Okay.
F1 Academy gets 10.
Wow. Which is the new W Series for all intents and purposes on a level with F4.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And they've always equated that on a level with Formula 4. Yeah. Okay. We also talked about some of the locations the Cadillac team is going to utilize. Reporting in, they've got locations in Silverstone, England, and that's fairly normal. Again, we've talked about it. 7 of the 10 existing teams in this year's Formula 1 have a base somewhere in or around Silverstone, England. So, yeah, them having one there, not much of a surprise. They also have 3 places that they can work out of in the U.S. Locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, Detroit, Michigan, and Fishers, Indiana. So the question became of Mr. Graham, which one of these is going to be the actual headquarters of the F1 team? Now, understand this, considering that the Charlotte and Detroit locations are more for either GM or Cadillac racing as a whole, those aren't it. You can eliminate that. As mentioned, Silverstone's where 7 of the 10 teams are currently based. That seems the likely location, but if you're guessing that, you'd be wrong. Cadillac officials, remember they're working closely with the TWG Motorsports Group. That's that group formerly known as Andretti Global. They're ready to make sure that their primary headquarters is going to be here in the United States in Fishers, Indiana, in that facility that we, I believe, are showing you right now on CRN Live on YouTube.
Yes.
Humongous facility. Remember that.
Yep.
They're stating this. Loudon said, this is his quote, not mine. Formula 1 is a global sport, but make no mistake, this is an American team. It will race under an American flag. The headquarters of the team is in Fishers. That's where the team will be centered. We're building a very impressive facility at Fishers at the moment, which is quite advanced. Construction work is well underway. The external fabric of the building is complete. Now it's an incredibly impressive facility, but also looking at the practicalities of competing in Formula 1. It makes sense to have a European base. We've chosen Silverstone for that base. There's a number of reasons that fed into that, not the least of which is access to experienced talent.
Yep.
If you walk into the offices at Silverstone at this moment, you'll recognize virtually everybody that's in there. And that would have been far too difficult to try to build a team in a location where some of the experienced human resources was not in place. So some functions will be carried out at Silverstone. Some will be built up over time at Fishers. One of the activities that we will be doing at Silverstone is the European turnaround and logistics. It just makes sense to do that. Every team has a logistics hub in Europe for supporting races that are not structured for flyaway freight. But we will have a small manufacturing facility at Silverstone, which is primarily making the components for the wind tunnel model. The facilities in Fishers, when you see them, I certainly hope you would agree, it's a huge addition to just the Formula One ecosystem. Big words. It's really something else that's being constructed there, but we will have a presence at Silverstone in Charlotte, North Carolina. At present, there's a lot of activity with our colleagues at GM, and the GM Technical Center is at Charlotte in North Carolina. I actually saw it. It's, for all intents and purposes, on the grounds of Hendrick Motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when had the chance a couple of weeks ago, went to the National Motorsports Press Association conference. I got up really early Sunday morning before we did a couple of different workshop things, and I went over and went around Charlotte Motor Speedway, saw where they're building that new kind of road track private club road course over there on that one side. Pretty cool. Wasn't able to get a really, really good look at it, but got some idea of what it was going to look like. And then when I came back, I went back through, and I mean, all those dealerships on that road are all Hendrick. But you have an access road behind a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they have built, since you and I were last up there, they have built this huge facility that, I'm trying to remember exactly what it says, but it's got the GM moniker on it, okay?
GM Technical Center.
Is that what it says, though? No. It literally says GM Defense.
Oh.
And that obviously kind of, got my attention. Yeah, but this place is absolutely humongous in its size and scope. And that's kind of what we're talking about. That's GM working very, very closely, not only within what they're doing in NASCAR, but there's a whole lot of GM's racing stuff that gets a lot of information out of that facility. I can guarantee you.
Yep.
So that's not really feasible for them. Graham Loudon continued on and finished up by saying this, quote, "So the one thing that I think is quite cool, but that's because I'm interested in this sport, it's quite cool to have a team that has these three legs on the stool. One is in Charlotte, which is kind of the capital of NASCAR. One's in Indianapolis, which is the capital of IndyCar. And the other's in Silverstone, which is the home of Formula One. So he feels like they're getting the best of everything." Okay. We'll see how you do. I mean, again, these guys are under the gun when it comes to this because they've got a lot of stuff that they have to get done between now and basically 1 year from now when they're supposed to be on the grid.
Yeah. Like the song goes, a long way to go and a short time to get there.
Indeed. One more driver, by the way, is off the market long-term for the Cadillac team. Not that they really had a chance at Oscar Piastri, but for the record, Oscar Piastri has signed a contract extension with the McLaren team. That takes him beyond 2026. His first contract, which he signed in his rookie year of 2023, took him through the 2026 season, but he's been very impressive, especially in 2024. Helped the team win claim the Constructors' Cup title with his first two Formula One wins. No word on how long the extension runs to keep the young driver there. But I would say 2028, 2029 is probably a pretty good guess, maybe 2030. I mean,
probably.
If I'm McLaren, I'm trying to keep this kid as long as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, even if there was maybe some tension within McLaren's headquarters after they basically said, hey, Lando Norris is our guy, he played for the team. And you got to give him a lot of credit. And that's why he gets a contract extension, for example.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Formula One now at this part of the show. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson. Appreciate you checking us out this morning on the radio or on CRN Live on YouTube. If you happen to be on there and you haven't yet, we do ask that you subscribe. And if you have, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And hey, tell friends and, I don't know, scream it out to people that you just meet on the street. We'd love it. Hey, we noted this on the show last week. This is the year that is the final year of the first term, and truth be told, maybe the only term of FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem. New elections set to take place later on this year for the role of FIA President. Bin Sulayem has said, yes, I'm going to be running again. But here's the thing. We know this. Even though we don't know whether bin Sulayem will continue as FIA President, F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali is going to remain in that role through 2029 at least, because Liberty Media, the commercial rights holders of Formula One, have signed Domenicali to an extension this week that runs through that year. They feel he was the best choice after taking over for former CEO Chase Carey. Carey left that position after the 2021 season. Since he took it over, he's continued Carey's vision of F1 growth, even through stupid COVID. Liberty said that they feel that Formula One, quote, has never been stronger for all stakeholders. Would you agree with that?
After I catch that yawn there, it hit me all of a sudden. Sorry. I'm not going to say it's worse, but I'm not going to say it's 100% better.
I don't know if is it the strongest that it's been since we've covered it? How's that for a question?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say no.
You think Domenicali's the guy that can help it become that?
Possibly.
Honestly, I think that he is. The question becomes how much leeway are they going to give him and how much time are they going to give him? Because this is the equivalent of trying to turn the Titanic on a dime.
That is true.
Something that's as big as Formula One, it takes time to get it to turn the way you want it to turn. And Domenicali's now 59. And let's face it, in Europe, they got some really weird rules when it comes to things like that. They're almost mandatory on retirement at 65, for example. But Domenicali's been in the racing and automotive industries all his life. Notably, he's been the team principal for Scuderia Ferrari from 2008 to 2014. Then he moved into the Volkswagen Auto Group, where he became the CEO and president of Audi and then Lamborghini before he got pulled back into Formula One by Liberty Media in that deal that we just talked about, succeeding Chase Carey. Said that his major goal now is to try to find ways to improve the fan experience while at the same time attracting new fans to the World Traveling Motorsports Series. He doesn't have a whole lot of time to celebrate. He's in Australia for this weekend's season opener, and then he's traveling to Thailand. He's talking with country and city leaders about a potential race on the streets of the city of Bangkok, Thailand. This brings up other problems. Because this would mean pretty massive changes to the F1 calendar. 24 race slate that we had last year and this year are the most races allowed in a season under the current Concord Agreement, which is the agreement between F1, the teams, and the drivers. Now, here's what we know coming up next year and in the next couple of years. Spanish Grand Prix is set to be moved, it appears, from Barcelona to Madrid on a street course they're now calling it the Madring, whatever you want to call it. Okay. We've noted this. The Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps has signed on an extension, but their extension's a little weird. It's to host a Formula One race every other year. That actually might become a new normal considering the packed nature of the schedule, because Thailand's just the latest country to express an interest in hosting an F1 race. Rwanda, South Africa, both talking about either building or upgrading their facilities with the intent to play host in the near future. Oh, by the way, Argentina's another possibility. This is a country that hasn't hosted F1 since 1998, but the country has new leadership, and they've begun talking not only with Formula One, but IndyCar as well. And let's face it, South America's fairly underrepresented. They've got exactly one race, and that's in Brazil right now. Mm-hmm. 2 races, not necessarily unheard of. McLaren CEO Zak Brown does tend to think that what the Belgian Grand Prix has signed on to do might become more the norm in the near future. He said this week of F1 in that particular situation, this quote, I don't think it's hit its peak, which is quite exciting. Clearly, some things have peaked. 24 races. We can't do more. I'd like to see, and it is something that has been spoken about in the past, in order to grow the calendar, maybe have a fixed 20 races and then 8 that rotate every other year, for 1 year, for the next. That is a way to get to 28 markets, but maintain a 24 race calendar, because the calendar is very difficult on everybody. But that is one way to continue to grow the sport. I kind of think he's on to something. I don't know about 20 fixed races, but having a set number of them, be it 8, 10, whatever, that rotate and do every other year, it's not as much of a financial hit, because we've talked about how much it costs to host an F1 race. So it's not as much of a financial hit. You get to defray it. And again, like we said, you get the opportunity to kind of introduce yourself into some new markets.
Yeah.
He might be onto something. We'll see. Oh, since we've been talking about TV situations, let's talk about another one, shall we?
Sure.
If you've liked what ABC and ESPN have done with Formula One over the last few years, it's about to change. Liberty Media announced that they will not be continuing with their television rights deal with ABC, ESPN after this year. Commercial rights holders of F1 based here in the United States, though, have not commented about where they might be going or who might be bidding. One of those, though, could be Netflix. They are one of the leaders in the clubhouse, according to reports. Success with the F1 Drive to Survive series is undeniable. Again, we talked about how season 6, the numbers were down as far as viewership. Again, probably because not a whole lot of drama. We all knew about Red Bull. But even though the numbers were down overall, viewers in the first week of the season 6 release watched it to the tune of just 22 million, just shy of 22 million viewing hours. That's in 1 week alone. That's not bad. And this week, this past week, reportedly those numbers were up. I haven't seen final numbers, though. And another thing to think about, Netflix has started to invest heavily in live sports. They broadcasted, for example, Christmas Day, 2 games from the National Football League. They've got a 10-year deal with the WWE. Okay. And while it wasn't all that the hype built it up to be, you did have the boxing match, use the term loosely, between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. In addition, Netflix has hired away from ESPN one Kate Jackson. No, not the actress who played on the ABC show Charlie's Angels. Kids, ask your grandparents. But the former VP of production for ESPN, who happened to be in charge of F1 coverage for the All Sports Network. And by the way, Netflix has some money to play with. They made a profit in 2024 of $8.71 billion with a B dollars. The annual price that ABC ESPN has been paying for Formula One rights, $90 million annually. So even if they do jump up, which is probably going to happen because the rights to all sporting series or leagues, whatever, all of that has taken a step up. But even if it goes up to, say, I don't know, $150 million a year, you made $8.71 billion.
I barely scratched the surface.
I think you can cut a check.
Pretty easy.
Kids, ask your parents about checks. To IndyCar. Okay, let's continue to talk about confusion and being upset at networks.
Yeah.
It's a running theme on this week's show, okay? Now, again, I didn't get to see it live, but I have seen some highlights, and from what I saw and heard, it looked pretty good. You saw the entire race. You said you liked it. Mm-hmm. And they came out swinging with an all-new graphics package, such as, well, one of the things that they were able to do, for example, and you'll see it on CRN Live on YouTube if it's not already up there, is a graphics package that kind of uses the inner ring of the aero screen to kind of overlay graphics on it, right? And this is much lauded about how the viewer could see all the pertinent information. Included in this is telemetry, things like speed, what gear the driver's in, what turn on the track they're in, especially in a road course. That's pretty important. Their throttle brake pressure, the driver's name, the car number. They'll even throw the main sponsor out there. But it ain't all paradise and roses with that new graphics package, because that look does cover up, as we noted, the inner ring of the aero screen, which With the car's camera angle, which showed that area very well, teams were starting to use that area to give their sponsor partners extra visibility when that happened to be on camera. And if we know anything about racing, sponsorship is the all-important thing that keeps everything going, right?
It does.
Research from IndyCar officials showed that the inner ring is actually about twice the value of placing the brand name on the side pod for advertising space, due to the amount of screen time that area happens to get during race broadcasts, and it didn't matter what network it was. On top of that, while some series just asked to put cameras on or in cars, turns out IndyCar charges teams $350,000 per car to have that in-car camera for the season, so the inner ring sponsor placement is a way to help defray that cost. So if you like how that look is, if you're looking at CRN Live on YouTube, it may or may not be back in its entirety for next weekend's race at Thermal Club, second race of the year. IndyCar officials have told media they're talking with the teams. They're gathering feedback on the things that they liked, the things that they liked changed after the first race with Fox, and then they'll talk to Fox.
Right.
Now, in that picture, if you look down at the lower left-hand corner, you see number 14, Ferrucci, and you see Sexton, which was his primary sponsor for that particular race. Is that good enough to note that sponsorship? Because I can guarantee you on the inner ring of that, that's probably, at least 2 stickers, maybe 3?
Yeah.
Around the inner ring. One to the left, one in the center, one over to the right.
Right.
At the very least. So I understand that. Yeah, it is prime placement. Is putting their logo and their name underneath the driver's name in the bottom right-hand corner just to make sure that you understand who is the car that you're riding along with. Does that help that? And I think
some.
And the reason I ask that is because this, I think, is what Fox is going to try to hang their hat on.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, listen, we can do this. We can make sure that we put their sponsor in the bottom left, right-hand corner or wherever that we're putting, that driver name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on it for you. Let you know as soon as we can find out. Because it's going to be, I don't know how serious this whole situation is when it comes to being upset, if you will, at these different networks. I mean, I think Bob Tasca III has a legitimate beef talking about the promotion of the NHRA versus the promotion of IndyCar.
Mm-hmm.
This here seems like one of those things where if you just work out the details, it's not going to be that hard to get a fix. But you just need to figure out what the detail is going to be. And one of those details is, okay, if, for example, we're the sponsor of this 14 car of Santino Ferrucci, and it's the CRN logo or the Sexton logo, which is currently there, how big is it? And that might be a help. Maybe you double the size of the logo just to make sure that, hey, CRN's the one that's sponsoring this car for this particular race. And that may be as simple as it gets. Then again, maybe I'm oversimplifying it. I don't know. We're talking millions of dollars a year that's changing hands back and forth for Fox to carry IndyCar coverage and for the IndyCar series to go out there and put on a race. And how many millions of dollars we've talked about this. It's now $5 to $8 million annually to be a primary sponsor for the full year on an IndyCar car, and it's working its way up to 10. So I understand where the sponsors are coming from. They certainly want to get their money's worth out of it.
Right.
So the question becomes, is that bottom right-hand corner enough?
As you said earlier, time will tell.
Yep. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep our ears out, let you know. What we do know is this. The Indy 500 bump day is actually going to have some meaning. We now can confirm there are 34 entries at least. We'll tell you who the 34th is. We got details about a race in the state of Texas that's coming up next year. Plus, we still got other stuff to get to, including a look at how the CRN League on fantasy racing is doing. All that before the end of the show.
Stay right to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, run to the checkers here on this week's edition of the show. As noted before we went to break, Bump Day indeed going to be that this year. We do have a 34th entry officially confirmed for this year's Indy 500. Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing has confirmed that they will run 4 cars. The 4th one will have the number 75 on it. It'll be piloted by 2-time Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato. He's now 48 years old, the Japanese native trying for his 16th career Indy 500 start. Don't forget, he last won it in 2020 with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, so not unheard of.
Yeah, that was the oddest 500 I can ever remember.
Yeah.
Because it was empty.
I know. Yep.
In August.
I know. It's so strange.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm certainly not going to put it out of the realm of possibility that between now and, because, I mean, we still got 2 more months before we even get into the month of May. Well, a month and a half.
Yeah.
We might get 2 or 3 more cars.
True.
Some weeks ago, IndyCar officials announced a new race in the state of Texas that's going to be called the Arlington Grand Prix. It's going to take place in and around the home of the National Football League's Dallas Cowboys, AT&T Stadium. And while the race itself was announced, exactly where on the 2026 schedule it was going to be placed was not until this week. And it will actually happen, well, exactly 1 weekend from now. The weekend of March 13th through the 15th of 2026. Practice will take place Friday, March 13th. Qualifying Saturday the 14th. Inaugural race Sunday, the 15th. Now, why here? Well, let's give you an idea of exactly the details of this situation. It's going to run on a 2.73 mile long 14 turn course that uses the City of Arlington Sports and Entertainment District. And for those of you that are trying to figure out exactly where Arlington, Texas is, it's pretty much right in the middle between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
It includes the aforementioned AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. Also, it will have as a backdrop Globe Life Field, home of Major League Baseball's Texas Rangers. And it will feature the Rangers' former home, a stadium now called Choctaw Stadium, which is used for UFL, United Football League, and soccer games. So the best way to avoid interfering with any of those other leagues is to put it right here. NFL's done. Major League Baseball is in spring training, which means that the Rangers are not in Texas. The UFL have not started their season yet. And I don't know about the soccer team, but the soccer team can go play on the road.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still not sold on this one.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm still
I
not
agree.
sold.
Because here's the thing. Texas Motor Speedway, where they have raced before, is technically, I think, in Fort Worth.
North Fort Worth, yes.
Okay. So that's 20 miles away?
30. It's about 30.
30 miles away from Arlington?
Because I've made the drive from AT&T Stadium and that complex where AT&T Stadium and Globe Life Field is to Fort Worth, and it's about 30 miles.
Okay. So why are we doing a street course race when we got a purpose-built speedway 30 minutes away? Or for that matter, they raced a year at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. That's just a couple hours down the road. Why are we doing this instead of running on COTA?
Don't know. When it comes to these promoters in series nowadays, nothing makes sense to me anymore.
And
nothing
should really surprise us either,
Nothing.
I guess. This is going to be an interesting move. Chevrolet's IndyCar program manager is about to change. It might make one wonder about the future direction of the Bowtie brand in the open wheel series, but I think they're probably pretty locked in and loaded. Let's give you the who and why. Rob Buckner is the current head of the program. He has said that he's going to continue in that role through the race that happens in our own backyard at Barber Motorsports Park, but said that'll be the final race that he has in the role of the IndyCar program manager. He says he'll step down for a little while because he and his wife are expecting their first child. The due date is toward the end of May, so we'll step aside following the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix, which is going to happen the first weekend in the month of May, and then settle in and watch as they run on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, and then, of course, do the Indy 500. There's a lot of work involved there, and I understand it. This is why he chose to step aside at this time, so that he did not get knee-deep involved in all of the events at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and is spending time with his wife and soon-to-be child. It is understood that he will continue with General Motors, and when he's ready to return to work, he will be taking over the newly created role of Senior Manager of GM Motorsports Propulsion. Okay. In this role, he will not only oversee Chevrolet's efforts within IndyCar, but all racing efforts for GM in whatever series they're in worldwide, save Formula One. Formula One is a different animal. GM Racing and Powertrain longtime employee Russ O'Bleens, I hope I got that name right, has been promoted to the head of the Cadillac F1 motor program. Buckner will oversee, when he returns to work, IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA, World Endurance Challenge Series engine programs for Cadillac, and Corvette racing. Again, everything except for the F1 side of things. And that tells me that he's probably going to be based out of Charlotte.
Yeah, possibly.
Congratulations to him. We'll see what happens. I hope it works out well for him. And we'll see where Chevrolet goes after this. By the way, before the IndyCar Series heads out west for race number 2 on the year at Thermal Club in California, most of the teams, not all, But most of the teams actually took time this week to come here to Alabama and tested at Barber Motorsports Park. In fact, 8 of the 11 teams were there. 19 of 27 cars were on hand, 5 Chevrolet and 8 Honda teams in total. It was a private test, so we don't have any information about times or anything like that. As for the remaining teams, they said they chose to keep that series sanctioned test session in their pocket. They say they'll use it later this year at the venue of their choice.
Which will probably be the venue when they come back.
Probably. We'll see.
That's a crazy way to put it.
Yeah, isn't it? Craftsman Truck Series news. Couple of pieces here. Number one, congratulations out to Craftsman Truck Series driver Tanner Gray and his longtime girlfriend. I can't say fiance because I haven't found out whether he's actually popped the question to her. But they announced that they're expecting their first child. It's due in August. They said it will be a boy. They have yet to settle on a name, or if they have, they didn't make it public. And then Fox Sports has announced their plans for the annual drivers broadcast. And you say, why did we put it in the Truck Series news? Well, it's because it's, yes, set for the weekend, next weekend at Homestead, Miami. And it will cover for the first time and the only time the Truck Series race. Lead announcer is going to be Kevin Harvick. Harvick will be joined in booth by Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. On pit lane will be Austin Cindric and Carson Hocevar.
As much as the Truck Series has been hammered for their broadcast lately, which last night wasn't much better.
Yeah, from everything
what
I heard.
I've seen, this might be a blessing in disguise.
We'll see. Again, this is nothing but a feather in the cap of Kevin Harvick.
Sure.
I mean, we've seen him do this before. We saw him do this in drivers' broadcasts in years past, mostly for the Xfinity Series. Heck, we saw it at Talladega. Yeah. Kevin Harvick knows what he's doing. He's comfortable on a microphone. He's comfortable in front of the camera. He knows what he's talking about. I got to give Kevin Harvick a lot of credit. Does that mean that Kevin Harvick takes over a lead role in the future if Mike Joy decides to retire? I'm not so positive of that, truth be told. I think they like him in the driver analyst role. But you know what? It certainly doesn't hurt the fact that he's got the ability to do it. And if somebody comes up sick on a weekend, he can just slide right over and take over the main announcer role.
Yeah. He could. I mean, he's progressing in it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's good at it. There ain't no doubt about it. He's real good at it. I like Clint Boyer. I'll say that. I don't love Clint Boyer. I like Clint Boyer in his role. He brings a little bit of humor to it. The problem is, for Clint Boyer, he's a little bit scattershot. He tends to get squirreled really, really quick.
Yeah.
And you go, Clint, concentrate, man. Focus. You're at a race. You're covering a race. Focus.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, did you see what the Chiefs done last week?
Yeah.
We don't care.
No, we don't care. We're here tuned into the race, dude. Concentrate on the race.
Yeah.
One other note here before we talk about Fantasy League update, and this will be the first one of the year, but not our last. It's something that we really wanted to do earlier, and that's on me. I apologize for it. Formula E's got the introduction of Pit Boost this year. Gives the teams in less than 30 seconds, actually, about a 10% charge to the battery pack. It's technology that was assisted by development from a company called Fortescue Zero and their battery intelligence software, codenamed Elysia. Ooh, pretty. The company said that their work has helped lengthen the life of the battery pack while optimizing the output as well. Sure. As a result, Fortescue Zero has become the official pit boost provider. Okay. It's a sponsorship deal, runs the remainder of this year. The tech was successfully tested in race in 2024 at Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. This is one of those things that's going to be used in all the double header events this year. Not just single rounds. Like the next time they race is going to be Miami. Miami's just a single race. It's not a double header.
Right.
So the double header weekends that remain this year, Monaco, Tokyo, Shanghai, Berlin, and the season finale in London. All right. I mean, congratulations. I think it's great.
Yeah.
All right. Fantasy League here. Something that we kind of we've had, let's just say, varying luck in trying to get one of these things off the ground. We've done them a couple of times, but just kind of faded away. We're going to do our level best not to let this one fade away because, you know, it's kind of fun, number one. Number two, it's not that hard. You could still get in on this technically if you have a NASCAR.com sign-in.
Yeah.
So what's the situation here? Number one, if somebody's interested now in signing up, how can they do it?
Just go to the NASCAR Fantasy Live site and pull up the league. Let me go back.
Go through the process?
Yeah. Go. Just find the league. Just search the league CRN Fantasy Live 2025, and that's going to be it. And you can jump right on in. And
yeah, we're not charging anybody anything right
now. No, there is.
It's free.
Yeah, there's no fees.
Yeah. At some point in time later on in the future, we might look into this as maybe trying to give away some sort of a prize.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, we're just doing it for fun, just to see how good it goes right off the bat.
Yep.
All right. So what are we looking at here now that we are, 4 races in?
Four races in, yep.
So how are we looking?
We got Mr. Plow is sitting at a big goose egg. I don't think he's even made any picks.
So he signed in and did not enter a lineup.
No,
Oops.
he didn't.
So you might be able to beat somebody just by signing up right now and making some picks.
Yeah. Staceman Racing is sitting in 6th with 480.
Okay.
Chase B99 is sitting 5th with 487. I am sitting in 4th with 494. Fire Chef is sitting in 3rd with 551. Junebug 13 is sitting 2nd with 648. And some dude with some Stuart Haas not racing.
Huh. Wonder who that could be.
Is leading with 672 right now. So.
Recognize me. Will it last? Probably not. I come out of the gates strong. The question is do I have stamina? And I'm not so certain I do over a 36 race period. But, again, this is just fun. And this is, you and I are involved in a couple of different NASCAR leagues here. We got one where we just make 2 picks, a Class A and a Class B driver. In this case, it's 5 picks and a driver in reserve, what they call in garage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just basically where do they finish, rack up the number of points, add it on to your total, and boom, that's how it goes. It's pretty much the way that it works. It's easy. It's simple. Again, go on to NASCAR Live. What's the name of our league again? One more time.
CRN Fantasy Live 2025.
So, yeah, if you'd like to, go ahead and sign up. It's like going on to YouTube, looking up CRN Live, and just hitting subscribe. It's free. It's fun. We appreciate it. Like all the people that are commenting. By the way, for those of you that are wondering, Chi-Town Mark, apparently now getting busted out of the hospital today. So happy to hear about that. Had to raise the hood and go up under there and do some work. So I'm familiar with that. I had some under the hood work done on me in 2021. So I get it. It ain't fun. So our thoughts and our prayers continue to go out to him as he is recovering from that. Glad to see that he'll be about ready to head home. James and Keith and Athena and everybody else, we appreciate you taking part in it, and we'll do it all again next week. Who knows? Maybe we'll have producer John next week, too. Part of the reason why, by the way, the producer John wasn't able to help us out this week is he does it via remote. Well, the program that we use that allows him to take control of the computer via remote, they chose this weekend to do maintenance on their system. So it's shut down and you can't access it. Thanks. Appreciate the help.
Yeah.
We'll be back on Wednesday with another edition of Crossed Flags. If you missed this past week's, it's available right now on CRN Live on YouTube. We were talking a little bit about the pluses and minuses of the option tire and whether or not we thought that it should continue. And we also talked about Catherine Legg and her situation out at Phoenix. And we were kind of wondering, really, if she got a fair shake out of that. Not really sure she did. Not really sure she did.
No.
So that's up and available now. By all means, check it out. Again, if you're in the southeastern part of the country, please be very weather aware. It's coming into Mississippi right now, and it'll be in Alabama midday and the western part of it. And we'll get into the afternoon and well into the evening hours. It'll be long after dark before this whole thing is over with. So please be weather aware. If you happen to be in a mobile home, if that's where you live, might want to try and find another place to go for the day. See if you got some friends out there that can help you out. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of coverage when it comes to weather as well. So please be safe, be careful. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. And next Saturday, again, right here with CRN, assuming that everything works out and God willing, all of that. We'll be praying for you. Hope you pray for us. And we'll talk to you again later this week.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
This is where the classics live forever.
Here come the classics.
Keep it coming.
So good.
It's bigger, and bigger is better.
Yeah. You love it.
Yes, I love that.
This is going to be huge.
Non-stop.